Hey, this is Rick Kaselj, injury specialist from exercisesforinjuries.com. In today's video, I wanted to go through a 5-minute hip pain workout. And I'll get Donnelly to go through the first exercise, and then I'll explain it in detail, and I'll go through the other exercises in this 5-minute hip pain workout. Good, so that ends up being the first one, an IT band foam rolling. So you're foam rolling out the IT band. We're working on addressing the tension around the hip. So a lot of times with hip pain, one of the causes ends up being excessive tension around it. So we want to work on the tension, not just in one part, but all of the parts around the hip. So you're going from just above the knee, and then you're rolling to just below the hip. When it comes to sets, reps, and time, you're looking at 1 set, 5 repetitions, which ends up being like 5 up, 5 down, so 10 movements. Smooth controlled movement, a good stop at the top position and the bottom position. And when it comes to intensity, you should feel like you're having a massage, but it shouldn't be screaming pain. It shouldn't be extremely uncomfortable. It should feel like that you're getting a massage. So that ends up being the first one. Then you're gonna move into the quad foam rolling. So you move the foam roller out to the side a little bit. You move half your body over the edge of the foam roller. You're going to bring that foam roller to just above your knee, and then you're going to roll from just above the knee to just below the hip, and back and forth. Same things as the other one that we end up just doing, the IT band foam rolling. We're looking at sets, reps, and time of 1 set, 5 repetitions up and down, so a total of 10 movements. When it comes to time, smooth controlled movement, good stop at the top position and a good stop at the bottom position. The intensity that you're looking like you're feeling like you're getting a massage, but it's not looking at screaming pain. Now the third one ends up being working the third part of the hip. That ends up being the glutes, specifically gluteus medius. So you get off the foam roller, you're going to move the foam roller to 45 degrees to your body. You're going to sit on one hip or one cheek, and then you're going to start at that hip joint and move to the top of your pelvis, and then back to that hip joint. So just like the other ones, sets, reps, and time and intensity. 1 set, 5 repetitions, so 10 movements total. Looking at the time, smooth controlled movement, good stop at the bottom and top position, and intensity, you're looking at feeling like you're getting a good massage, but we're not looking at screaming pain. Now we're almost done around the hip. Now we're going to do the 4th foam rolling one, which ends up being foam rolling the inner thigh. So with this one, we got the full foam roller. You're going to bring the lower part of the leg. There we go, good. Good, so I've got, there we go, yep. So you got the lower part of the leg on the foam roller. You're gonna roll from the inside of the knee towards the hip. Good, and then back, and then once again to the hip as far as you can end up going. So with this one, same concepts when it comes to sets, reps, and intensity. 1 set, 5 repetitions, so 10 total movements. Smooth controlled movement, good stop and stop at the top and or the end and start positions. And intensity, we want to feel a good deep massage. We're not looking at screaming pain. Perfect. Now just kind of adding some comments here. Ideally, what we want to end up doing is going through it on both sides. So most times with hip pain, it tends to be one-sided. One side ends up being worse. Now you don't want to do all of your pain relieving exercises just on that one hip. It's best to alternate back and forth. It gives that hip that you're working on a break, and then it also works on that the pain-free side, doing injury prevention, because all of these exercises are good for the health of the hip. Now, so after those 4 foam rolling exercises, which we're focusing on when it comes to tension. So tension ends up happening, the muscle ends up being tight, and it ends up pulling on that hip joint from the front, from the side, from behind, and from the inner thigh. And what we're doing is relieving that tension so we're getting less pull on that hip, so in order to help overcome hip pain. Now we're moving into the fifth one, which is hip rocking. So what you're doing is you got a wide stance, good shoulder width apart, and now you're just focusing on trying to have that movement happen in the hip. Yeah, so you can rock the hip to one side, rock the hip to the other side, and then going at like little angles, and then other angle, and then other angle, and other angle. So it's almost like if you end up having a box, you're moving side to side, you're moving to the corners of the box, and you're moving to the other corners of the box. So with this one, what we're working on is the mobility in the hip. So we've loosened up things around the hip. Now we're kind of targeting deep into that hip joint in order to kind of work on stretching things deep in that hip when it comes to the muscles that attach to the top part of the hip, when it comes to ligaments, loosening it up, giving us more movement in that hip area, in that hip joint area. Now when it comes to sets, reps, and time, one set, we're looking at like 10 movements, so like 5 repetitions, which will end up being 10 movements total, and trying to mix it up between the side to side and corner, corner, and corner, corner. When you're looking at a smooth, controlled movement, a good stop at each of the end positions so you can end up getting a good stretch. I'd say like hold for a good 2 seconds. And once again, you're looking for a light stretch at those end positions. You're not looking to try to rip apart the hip joint. And you'll notice that certain directions will be more challenging for you, and that's perfectly normal. You can have easy movements, you can have more challenging movements. We want to focus on more of the challenging movements. So that ends up being the 5th one, the hip rocking. Now we're going to go into the 6th one, which ends up being the 90-90 hip flexor stretch. So with this one, you're taking a big step. I got 90 in the front, 90 in the back. So 90 when we come to the ankle, knee, and the hip in the front leg. Now ankle, knee, and the hip in the back leg. You're going to tighten up the abdominal area, tighten up the glutes, bring the hips forward, and then bring the arm up overhead. And with this one, we're really targeting that front of the thigh and deep into the hip in order to kind of target the hip flexor, iliacus, and psoas muscles, which end up being a common cause of hip pain because they tighten up in order to protect that hip joint. When it comes to sets, reps, and time and intensity, sets 1, repetitions 2, so each side alternating back and forth. When it comes to time, I said 20 seconds. And intensity, you're looking for a light stretch. We're not trying to rip apart the muscle, looking for a light stretch. So you do it on the right side, then you would switch it over onto the left side. Now with the last one, so we've gone through 6, now the 7th one ends up being the 3-way plank. So we're moving to the floor, and if you can't go to the floor, you can end up going against the wall. You're getting onto the forearms. You're nice and straight in the head, shoulders, hips, and ankles. You're going to tighten the abdominal area. You're going to tighten up in the glutes and the hamstrings. You're going to hold this position, and then you're going to move to the side. So one side, coming to the side, good. Holding for a good couple seconds, then back to the front. 1, 2, and then going to the other side. Good. So there you go. So with this one, what we're doing is we're working the core, so working the abdominal area, working the glutes and the hamstrings, and this all ends up helping when it relates to the hip pain. So a lot of times people with hip pain have weakness in that core, which ends up putting more stress on the hip. We want to take away that stress in order to relieve that hip pain. Now, when it comes to sets, reps, and time, what I'd recommend for you to do is go through roughly 5 repetitions total, and you can progress up to 10. So one repetition would be front plank, side plank would be repetition 2, back to the front plank would be 3. And smooth, so one set, looking at the 5 repetitions. When it comes to when you get into that plank position, front or side, hold it for a good 2 seconds and smooth, controlled movement. Perfect. Now, kind of going through things, now if you go through things fully how I explained, it probably end up taking you 10 minutes to go through it. Now, how to kind of cut it down into that 5-minute routine, I would just end up decreasing the number of repetitions. So the foam rolling, you would end up doing 4 total movements in each direction. When it comes to the hip rocking, you would end up doing 4 total hip rocks. When it comes to the 90-90 hip flexor stretch, You can end up just doing 1 repetition, but I really like this one, so I'd encourage you to do 2 repetitions. And then with the 3-way plank, you'll end up being fine with the 5 repetitions that I end up talking about. And that'll bring you down to that 5-minute hip pain workout. So if you're crunched for time, do the 5 minutes. But if you have the time, do the full 10 minutes. You'll end up getting more benefit. So there you go. That ends up being the 5-minute hip pain workout. Now, if you have hip pain or are looking for some of my other tricks and tips when it relates to hip pain, I'd recommend you click right here. I have a brand new free report called 5 Tricks to Fight Hip Pain and Tightness. Just click right here. Let me know where to send that report, and I'll send you that brand new report right away. Now, if you're watching this video on a mobile device, tablet, head down below in the description, click the first link, which will end up being exercisesforinjuries.com/hips. Let me know where to send that brand new free report, and I'll send you that free report right away. Now, if you got benefit from this video, hit like. If you have a question or comment for me, leave it down below in the comment section. And lastly, hit subscribe before you go so you'll get future pain relieving videos.